Good.
7 o'clock.
All right.
We are recording.
Yes, we're going to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order on April 4th, 2022. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman Clee. Alderman Camo is here. Alderman Gavea.
Here.
Alderman Clemens.
Here.
Alderwoman Timmons.
Here.
Alderman Moran.
Here.
Mayor Dodges.
Here. And Alderwoman Clee contacted me to say she's not feeling well today and could not make it. Public comment. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak to the committee?
Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. I'm not certain I understand the format of the agenda, so these communications, it's not clear to me. Are you actually like voting on these tonight or like approving them? Because they're not listed as like business. Okay, so you'll be voting on these. I just wanted to understand this Rescue Plan Act money for the $200,000, what we get for that. Are we trying to go after grant money, and what kind of strings get attached with that grant money? How much is available? It looks like it's all COVID related, and I'm always concerned about what the hooks are in that. And I'd like to know for the road projects being done, or would be interested in hearing for 14 miles of paving we're doing. Is this typical for what we do for paving each year? And is that money, I think it's bonded money and we're feeding out of the bond. I'm not even certain how it goes, but if we are taking money that's already been bonded and spending it, I was just trying to understand that. And I want to just lay some caution on the assessing dashboard consulting services. I'm not certain what this is about or what it's going to give us, but I'm more concerned with getting the records online and getting the redactions done in the digital component of the property record files brought up, and I think that's going to cost a good bit of money and people and services to do that, and I would like to see the priority go there rather than to this dashboard, because I think it's more valuable to everyone, especially with new numbers coming out. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else from the public want to speak to the committee? If not, we'll go to item number 1, which is a communication. Now, before we do the motion, Tim Cummings wanted to be here, but could not be because of a family thing. So we could table this. The short explanation, though, is that we are getting $16 million. We want to make sure we comply with the regulations, and this would engage an expert to make sure we do that and don't get money clawed back. But there's no problem in holding that. No urgency with this. So if you'd like to table it, we could wait for Mr. Cummings to come back at the next meeting. So is it your pleasure to table it? Motion by Alderman Clemens to table. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Camone.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the purchase of recycling and trash carts and cart lids for curbside collection for fiscal year 22 in an amount not to exceed $145,000 from Toter Incorporated of Statesville, North Carolina. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste, Fund Solid Waste, Account Classification 71, Equipment.
And I believe Mr. LaFleur is here. Yes, there he is.
This is my annual budget allotment of $145,000 to replace my the trash carts and recycling toters that we purchase and sell out to the residents. It also includes having some carts delivered to the landfill. We've been replacing a lot of them.
Now, you're breaking up a little bit. You're breaking up a little bit. I don't know what's happening.
I'm sorry. This is also to purchase recycling toter lids for repair out on the street. These toters are 20 years old. They're starting to fall apart. So they're available if there's a catastrophic breakdown.
And you are slipping out a little bit in and out, but the explanation, I think, was that we buy an annual supply of these to replace broken toters and for recycling to supply them to people who want to buy them. but we buy a bunch at one time. Any questions or comments to Mr. LaFleur? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camone.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the contract with Wright Pierce to provide design plans and specifications for a second digester heat exchanger and stair tower exhaust fan in an amount not to exceed $40,900. Funding for this contract will be through Department 169 Wastewater, Fund Wastewater Activity Heat Exchanger Primary Digester.
And Mr. Boucher is here. Boucher?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Boucher.
Dave Boucher, Wastewater Superintendent. The wastewater facility has a 1.3 million gallon sludge digester. We're required to keep the temperature of the sludge at 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Currently, we have one heat exchanger to do this. We purchased a second heat exchanger, and we'd like to use Wright Pierce to design the plumbing to marry the two together. This is beneficial so that we're never down, so that we can take one offline for maintenance purposes, or if it happens to break down, we won't lose our process. Also, we'd like to use Wright Pierce. The stairwell that goes to this heat exchanger actually towers 70 feet above ground, and there's an exhaust fan located on the roof that is currently not accessible by our maintenance staff to do any maintenance on it. So this would also include the design to relocate that exhaust fan, possibly to the side of the stairwell where we have a catwalk, so that we can do future maintenance on it. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
And can you just briefly explain the function of the digester?
Yes, the digester gets fed sludge daily, and it's held for 15 days. At that temperature, there's a reaction that takes place that breaks down the sludge so that we can dewater it and send it to farmlands. It also kills bacteria in this process as well, so we can send it to farmlands for beneficial reuse.
Anybody have questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camone.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the engineering services contract amendment with Hayner Swanson Incorporated of Nashua, New Hampshire in the amount of $227,300 for the management and construction administration of the paving program. Funding will be through Department 160 Admin Engineering Fund Bond Activity Paving.
And I believe Mr. Hudson, are you on? Yes. Good.
Yes,
Thank
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Dan Hudson, City Engineer. So we bid out the paving program for this year, and Sunshine Paving will be doing that. This contract is for engineering support. Hayner Swanson has done this the last couple of years for us, but they act as an extension of our in-house engineering team. They provide in-the-field inspection, and then also help us manage the program. It's a good-sized program, so we really need this help. Addressing Ms. Ortolano's questions, she was asking if this year is typical for paving. We're planning to pave 14 miles this year. We've done more than that in the past couple of years. A little bit over 20 miles each year. This is the final year of the previously bonded paving money. So that our goal this year is to use up the balance of that funding, and then we'll be seeking a future additional bond for another 5 years of the program. So I just wanted to provide those answers, but this item here is just for the engineering support that we need.
Questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager, Alderman Camone.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and award the construction contract for the 2022 sewer replacement project to Sur Construction West Incorporated of Winchester, New Hampshire in the amount of $2,135,950 contingent upon bond approval. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund Bond Activity Sewer Rehab.
Mr. Hudson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is the dig sewer contract, as we would call it. We've previously brought a CCTV inspection and lining program, which is preservation of pipes that are in good shape. This is for actually digging up and replacing the pipes that are in poor condition. We bid this project out, received 4 bids. Jennings Excavation was the low bidder, but we had some concerns with some of their bid items. We ended up having a discussion with them, and they decided to withdraw their bid. So we're awarding to the second low bidder, which we think is the best in the best interest of the city and then Jennings and everyone. This is for planned sewer replacement work. We plan to replace about 4,000 feet of pipe. It also covers emergency work when we need the assistance. As luck would have it, last night we have discovered a sinkhole on Main Street, right at the intersection of Main and Water and Park. You may have seen a plate in the road and some cones around it. This contract allows us to mobilize the contractor quickly to do that work, which is oftentimes, if it's deep work and that sort of thing, oftentimes we need to bring in a contractor to do it. So this gives us a contractor in the city working on a regular basis that we can also mobilize for emergency repairs.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Hudson. Next, we have a communication from Kelly Parkinson, Purchasing Manager. Alderman Comeau.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve a request for consulting services to use our existing GIS system in assessing CAMA to configure a public-facing citywide property revaluation services with Environmental Systems Research Institute Incorporated, professional services in the amount not to exceed $82,040. Funding will be through Department 132 Assessing, Fund 55699, Other Contracted Services, Revaluation Bond.
Ms. Kleiner?
Good evening, members of the committee. We all know that this year, as we are facing the revaluation, we are particularly concerned with the amount of information that we can get out to our residents so that they can understand their new property assessments and also historical data. So we reached out to Esri, who is our GIS provider, who has done quite a bit of work in this field with communities across the country. So Esri designed a equitable property value tool, and many communities across the country have been using this, not only when they have a revaluation, but also just in the general course of opening up public transparency. So we discussed with Esri if it was possible at this time to create such a tool prior to the values being introduced by Vision, which should be sometime the end of July, beginning of August. We felt it would be important for our citizens to be able to go out and review their new property assessments, their historical data, comparable data across the city, their tax liability. It has a tax calculator tool. It also has a property assessment appeal tool, which we have had inquiries in the past about could the city develop some type of appeal tool to make it easier for our citizens. So this does include that. Esri came back, we discussed it. They feel that they can meet our time deadline. Because this tool deals directly with the revaluation, legal did weigh in that they felt that it would fit under the bond. We have the money remaining on the bond for the revaluation, and that would be the funds that we would be using to create the tool. It would connect directly with our CAMA, so it would pull information from our assessing CAMA system, and it can be used well into the future, not just for the revaluation, but for years to come. So we would be working with 5 of Esri's top consultants in the design of this, as well as our own information technology team.
All right. Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Unfinished business, we have none. New business resolutions, none. New business ordinances, none. Record of expenditures. Alderman, come on.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to make a motion that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinances pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period from March 11th, 2022 to, it's blank. Is that today's date?
Where is the record of expenditures?
What's the end date? To March 31st, 2022. Thank you.
All right. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. General discussion. Any general discussion items? Public comment. Any member of the public wish to address the committee?
Yes, Lori Ortolano, 41 Berkeley Street. I have a lot of questions on what I just heard with this $82,000 being spent. And I'm so tired of, quote, improvements being made for transparency that we either don't need or don't make sense. Is this supposed to bring the property record files online? Because Ms. Kleiner does not speak clearly. Is this an interface that brings these files online that are being done by Inception Technology? I'd like an answer to that. We were told that's $7,500. Is that $7,500 we're going to spend still to do this? Or is ArcGIS providing this? And where's with transparency now? We have all the cards online. You can check your neighborhood. You can access them from home. You can run the taxes. You can look at all comparable properties. Why would we be doing this unless this is the interface for Inception Technology scanned work? I mean, I'm so tired of the wasted money for transparency that isn't transparent or necessary. We bought all those tablets for the assessors to take out in the field. We never really used them. You know why? Our assessors, since 2019, when we purchased them, aren't doing permits or sales data anymore, because when we signed the contract with Vision, they took over and did all that work. So the handy tool of buying digital equipment wasn't really necessary at all. We spend the money, we don't really use it. We upgraded for thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, Patriot Properties tool 3 years ago. We've got the latest and greatest software down there. She did not say, is this system going to be accessible from home? Or is this only going to be if you go into the assessing office? Because I don't want that. I want the same accessibility from home that I have now. But I don't see a need for this at all. Somebody tell me what this is going to do other than muddle it for people who have to try and understand this stuff. The new version of Patriot is complicated enough down there, and the clerks that work in the office don't know how to help you on that computer screen because they don't understand the web pro that's been updated. You have to fish through it yourself. I went down there and a person couldn't show me how to print a card off the computer. I had to stand there and do it myself. So is this part of the Inception deal? Are we trying to couple the property record files, and this is being developed by a consultant to
30
allow
seconds.
the property record files to be accessed? I'd like clarity. I'm going to cut this discussion out and send it to the DRA and say, help me understand my records, because I don't understand what was just said to you. And I wished you hadn't approved this. This requires more discussion. Thank you.
All right. Remarks by Alderman. Alderman, come on.
I do have one, if you'll allow me some personal privilege. Friday evening is junior prom for Nashua South. My son is going to be attending with a bunch of his friends, so I wish all those juniors congratulations, and I hope they have fun, and I hope that they're all safe.
For what school, sorry?
South.
Alderman Moran.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last weekend was a great turnout for the Nashua Soup Kitchen's 5K run and walk. There was also a 10K. I obviously participated in the walk. Myself and my team from my counseling agency that we own ran, and there were several city officials there. We saw Chief Buxton, Commissioner Lemon from the Public Works Department, Alderman Lopez, and many others. And it was just a great turnout. And I didn't realize this until Sunday, that it was housed in my home ward of Ward 7. So it actually went through my neighborhood. So it was great to walk by my neighbors too.
Chief Buxton told me he did the 10K.
Oh, we did do the 10K.
It's at a pace of 7 minutes, 34 seconds per mile.
I remember having
He
conversations.
probably passed you 2 or 3 times.
Several times. I said, you know, at the end of today, he's going to be way ahead of me within at least 30 seconds, which he was. So,
Any other general discussion?
I have one last thing.
No, we're remarks by Alderman.
One last thing.
Yes.
The
go ahead.
previous day, that Saturday, my wife and I were also able to participate in a charity event with St. Christopher's Academy, my children's school. It was a wonderful event out in Hollis, and it was great to be part of the Catholic community and raising funds for that, our church.
Great. Alderwoman Timmons.
Well, thank you, Mayor. This past Monday was the health kickoff here at City Hall. Went very well. The walk went very well. I think they had a gala or whatever they call it upstairs in the auditorium. Was really heavily attended. It was really a good showing and a good turnout. And I got a lot of goodies from it and a lot of good information. So this is Health Week in Nashville, and it was just a great turnout, so that's all I have to say.
Okay. Anyone else? Alderman Camo.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
I think that's non-debatable. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. The meeting is adjourned at 7:21 p.m.